What's up, party people? Wow, wow, wow. My name's Chris, and I'm a book author. This is really just kind of a fun little episode. Next time I'll do one of these a little bit more in depth, but I just wanted you to kind of get a funny feel here for the reality that is my life. So my wife and I have 100% two different kind of reading preferences. I mean, let me rephrase it. It's not 100%, about 95%. We overlap on some other things. I'll give you an example of that in a minute. But long and the short of it is, you guys, it's kind of like I'm fiction, she's nonfiction, and the two hardly ever meet. Here's an example of a book that I might find kind of fascinating. I found these recently. These are kind of awesome looking. I got 1 and 2, volumes 1 and 2, or I think this is volume 1 and 2. Morabito, Guardian of the Spirit by Naoko Yoahashi. So forgive me, I'm sure I butchered that. But this is kind of cool. I mean, this has got that anime, manga vibe-ish. But it's an actual story. The epic martial arts fantasy straight from the land of the rising sun. Chock full of swords, shuriken, and masterful moves from an unconventional hero who must balance the weight of the world on the tip of her spear. That's by Jeff Stone, author of the 5 Ancestors series. So, this is just a really cool looking book. And I picked these up, pretty recently at a local store. But it's awesome. So I thought this was cool. I'm like, all right, that's kind of awesome. I'll check that out. And then here's another. This is number 2, Guardians of the Darkness. Same quality. It's so good. It's it's put together fantastic, and it's got just some, I don't know, just really cool pictures and so I thought that's awesome. All right, so that's kind of a little bit of like, I see that, I think I'm gonna get that. That's great. Here's an example of what my wife loves, what she sees, and she says, you know what, this is perfect. This is what I gotta have. Neurologic. The brain's hidden rationale behind our irrational behavior. So this, she thought, oh my gosh, I gotta have that book. From bizarre dreams and hallucinations to schizophrenia and multiple personalities, the human brain is responsible for a diverse spectrum of strange thoughts and behaviors. So that's her. She picks that. She says, you know what? That sounds awesome. Okay? So that's her. All right, so I see a book by Richard Chismar and Stephen King. This is the third in the Gwendy series, I believe. I think, okay, that's kind of cool. I've read the first one. I kind of liked it. I don't know about the second or the third yet, but it's a nice hardcover. I think, okay, I'll try that. And that's kind of cool. And even a little bit of let's say a little departure from what I would normally maybe get. But I saw these today, and these are so cool looking, and they're awesome. They're all by the same author, Giles Brandreth, I think is how you say his name. Brandreth. But they're these Oscar Wilde, kind of mysteries. Oscar Wilde and the Ring of Death. And these are all signed by the author. They're phenomenal. It's kind of awesome. Oscar Wilde and the Ring of Death. Oscar Wilde and the Dead Man's Smile. Again, all of it is signed. They're perfect condition. Oscar Wilde and the Candlelight Murders. And then there were a couple more. Oscar Wilde and the Murderers at Reading Goal. And last but not least, Oscar Wilde and the Vatican Murders. Okay, I mean, I don't know anything about them. These look kind of cool. I thought, I love mysteries, so I'm going to give that a whirl. This is what my wife gets. Odd Girl Out. Laura James. Okay? From childhood, Laura James knew that she was different. She struggled to cope in a world that often made no sense. It wasn't until she reached her 40s that she found out why. Laura learned quite by chance that she's autistic, one of the 700,000 people in the UK diagnosed with autism. So far, not a problem here for me. With touching and searing honesty, Laura challenges everything we know about what it means to be autistic, and she examines not only her own experience but also how autism has affected those around her and how it's shaped her career, her approach to mother, and attempts to find a way to make relationships work. So my wife's degree is in counseling, and she does spiritual direction and all this kind of stuff. So she loves finding out how the brain works and how do you interact, with people who are living, in their own kind of difficulties and struggles and obstacles, and how do I relate more with them and care for them more. So she's very involved in this. She loves it. It's nonfiction, and it's great. And I actually think I could like that as well. The other one, that brain one, forget it. I'm already confused. I mean, that's not going to work for me. This neurologic is not happening. That's what I'm saying. Here's another one that we both love. Searching for and Maintaining Peace by Jacques Philippe. I've read this a couple times. This is put out by St. Paul's, actually. And Jacques Philippe just writes these amazing little spiritual vignettes. Everybody who's ever read this book raves about it. It is just perfect. So we have that in common. So usually if it's kind of like something that's a religious, book, then we can find a lot in common with it and really enjoy it. Like, for example, before I would probably read this Odd Girl Out, I read, like, for example, Tuesdays with Morrie, which was fantastic. Obviously the reality of how ALS works in a person's life and the impact that this gentleman Morrie had, on Mitch Albom. I mean, it's a great book. I mean, there's 8 million copies usually in thrift stores all over the world. You should be able to find a copy of that. But like that, to me, I would be like, okay, I like that. That's a real life, and it's a story. That's why I think Odd Girl Out, I might probably enjoy this, although that wouldn't be what I would immediately gravitate towards, this one. So anyway, but I love in a way that we have such different tastes, my wife and I, because it just makes our library even better, honestly. I mean, she's going to have a whole collection of books that wouldn't even have occurred to me to explore and try. But because she's reading them, then obviously I'm being exposed to things that I wouldn't normally. And she as well, from some of the stuff that I've read. So it's kind of cool, but it is funny how two people living in the same house can have such radically different personalities and takes on books. And so maybe that's something you can relate to. Like, I mean, I have a really pretty eclectic interest in stories. So I love fantasy, science fiction, and I love mystery and thrillers, and I love reading about World War II, and, you name it. I mean, I'm probably interested. I just don't like nonfiction. As a general rule, I'm not gravitating towards that, unless it's a biography. Let me just show you another example of a book that I thought, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I'm going to snag it. I'll show you a couple more real quick. Like, again, this idea of here's a medieval type of a book, medieval mystery type of deal. So he was dressed in the rough clothing of a peasant, and the hose were coarse and ill-fitting, and the tunic had been patched and darned neatly. Someone had taken care of those tiny stitches. And he must have had a wife, Hellwise thought, or maybe a loving mother. Some poor woman will be grieving when she hears of this. If she was his wife, it will mean the loss of husband and breadwinner. A bad day for her, whoever she was. And as the initial shock receded, it occurred to Hellwise to wonder what the man had been doing on the fringes of the forest, and had he been lying there long, had she and her nuns been going about their business for some days, while all the time this poor wretch lay dead, not half a mile from the abbey. So, I mean, this is really kind of cool. So, Ashes of the Elements, a Hockenly mystery, Alice Clare. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong now that I think about it. I think this is the second book in that series. They didn't have the first, but kind of excited. I'm going to give that a whirl probably soon, because I love me some of those kind of medieval type of mysteries. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it isn't medieval, Maybe this this takes place, I don't know, within the 1800s, for all I know. I'll have to do a little research on this. Check it out. I'll give you an update after I read it, but I mean, I'm kind of a fan of those, like Ellis Peters, the Brother Cadfael series. If you've ever read those, they're awesome, and I think they have a television series now based on the books. And just one more. There were more, and I only got 4 of them, but they weren't necessarily terrible cheap, but they're gorgeous. They're the Lestrade Mystery Series, and it looks like I got volumes 3, 5, 6, and 8. So I'm probably kind of doing it wrong. I should have. But this is really kind of cool. MJ Trow, Lestrade, and the Hollowed House. Okay. I mean, that's weird looking. Oh, that's just the crown. Okay. That's kind of cool. And then Lestrade and the Deadly Game. And I could be pronouncing that wrong, so forgive me. Then the Lestrade Mystery Series. Here's Lestrade and the Guardian Angel. And last but not least here that I got, Lestrade and the Ripper. So this is kind of a Jack the Ripper type of scenario. I mean, they're awesome looking, and they feel great, and they're these small little books. I mean, the pagination is, it's kind of tightly, put in there. These are about a couple hundred pages, I think. Yeah. Oh, they end with like a little teaser for the next book. 230, 250 pages in that arena. They look awesome together like that, So, I could get into these all day long, and once I find a series that I like, I usually try to read everything I can by that author. I'm a little bit like that. So, anyway, these are just a few of the books that, I just thought were kind of awesome that I like, and just some of the stuff that I like, and maybe even some of the stuff that Linda does. So, it's my wife, Linda. All right, anyway, I love this stuff, and I hope you do too.